Okay, let's see how long I can do this before the system crashes again. We're on resources. The first one is Tishendorf. This is what they do in textual criticism, where they collate a bunch of manuscripts together and they show what the spelling differences or word differences are among the copies. This guy, Tishendorf, lived in the middle 1800s. And all these green numbers here are names of Bible manuscripts, originals. Okay, we got thousands of them, so many that they got these little key names. And if you were to click on the names, you'd find out where it was, where it's located, what museum or whatever has it, what's in it. And these are all their code names. Plus, Tishendorf wrote in the common Latin, which everybody spoke in the middle 1800s, and he wrote in German. So this so-called textual apparatus, which is a collection of, hi, here's the text I'm using, and here are all these other texts that I know of, and here's how they differ from the one I'm using. That's what that is. But it's in Latin. But it's exciting because it's one of the best, and people regard this as one of the best collations of our Bible manuscripts in existence. It's got problems. They're all, everybody's imperfect. But see, he takes each verse, and here's his basically his test text, and then underneath, written with Latin, notes, and a whole lot of shorthand, are all these other manuscripts that have certain kinds of differences in the spelling of David, for example. See, this is how picayune and anal they get. That's why you can trust your Bible, because you've got people been doing this kind of thing for hundreds and hundreds of years. Tishendorf being a primary example of it, because he's the guy who found Codex Sinaiticus. I'd click on these, but it's all in German. Okay, so if you can read German, you're going to have a field day with this. So that's the textual apparatus from him, and that also includes von Soden. Look in my textual playlist, textual criticism playlist, for a full survey of what's on the web on textual criticism. Okay. Next on the agenda, Aramaic. This is something that's bundled with BibleWorks. This guy Norton translated the Peshitta, and he maintains that that was the original. Yeah, well, like I said, if you read it, you'll find out that it's a translation of the Greek, because it follows the same literal order that it does when it's translating the Hebrew. But hey, then this is a grammar by Stevenson that I had to buy. I forget what I paid for it, but I said what that was in an earlier video. This is a grammar of Palestinian Jewish Aramaic, okay, which you can buy. And then this stuff is all bundled with BibleWorks. This guy's Old Testament pseudepigrapha translation and commentary. This is Schaff on the early church fathers. We sort of saw that already when I did my favorites. This is a guy named James who wrote a book about the New Testament Apocrypha, whereas this is Old Testament Apocrypha. Pseudepigrapha is another word for it. And this is Rodkinson's English translation of the Babylonian Talmud, which in BibleWorks is in this form, and also indexed is the Mishnah portion. It's not all of it, but it's most of it. Okay, then we got Hebrew grammars. Bundled in BibleWorks is Furtado Beginning Hebrew. That looks like the same book as the one I have. And here's our friendly Gesenius Hebrew Grammar. Hopefully I can do this without the machine bombing. If you ever encounter a King James only person, and they're all too dumb to live, and they try to tell you that Psalm 12, 6 and 7 is referring to the Word of God being pure, saying that the word them in the King James Bible of 12:7 is referring to words, point them over here to page 158 of Gesenius. This is one of the most famous Hebrew lexicons in the world. This one should be the 1910 edition. My hardback is 1910 and is far easier to read, but that's okay. See this little section here? Pause your video and look at it. Of course, you might not be able to read the characters. These little square boxes are saying that whatever the consonant is, it's got a segol at the bottom, the little 3 triangle dots. Okay, so this is like their equivalent of an X. It can be any consonant. Okay, but this whole thing is telling you where the non-energetic occurs, and it only occurs in the first person plural and the third person singular. In other persons, the non-energetic does not occur, which means there is no such thing as a them. So titzrenu, meaning to guard them, doesn't refer to words because there is no third person plural with a new ending at all. It does not exist. See, that's what's highlighted now. It does not exist. So titzrenu either means guard us or guard him. And when we translate it in English as guard them, it still means people. This is a personal pronoun. See the whole section of 58, the pronomial suffixes of the verb. Pronomial, meaning people. People. Me, thee, see, me, thee, him, her, us, you. Okay, and then there's no them. There's no them. Not, doesn't exist. See, in other persons, the non-energetic does not occur. Now, that's positive proof that just like the King James translator said, the titzrenu is talking about people, and it really means him or us, because those are the only 2 persons in which it occurs. Third person singular right here, and first person plural right here. Now, some King James only people are so dumb and so incompetent at reading, they think this very section proves that Psalm 12:7 means them as words. That's how incompetent you become when you believe false doctrine. You think that what refutes you proves you right. I had to do 5 videos and sort of 4 other YouTubers against the King James only person who cited this as proof that Psalm 12:7 was in fact referring to words them in the plural. Now you got the text right in front of you. In other persons, the non-energetic does not occur. See, first person plural, third person singular. So titzrenu, which means guard us or guard him, in Psalm 12:7 cannot refer to anybody but people, because it's a pronomial suffix, not just any old suffix, a pronomial suffix, meaning people. It doesn't ever refer to things. And it can't refer to people in the third person plural because it only exists in the first person plural and the third person singular. So the next time somebody tries to tell you King James only is Psalm 12:7, that them means words, point them to page 158 in Gesenius, and you can get it online with that same page number for free. Okay, and if you want, I've got links to video that I did on this very topic, and I'll give it to you, and that way you can find it for free. Okay, that's going to end this part of the segment because I'm so excited I actually didn't bomb. I'm afraid I will, and we'll come back in a few minutes. Okay, we're back. I hope you can hear me over the air conditioning and the dishwasher. Okay, we didn't stop at Hebrew grammars. We had just seen a little snippet of Gesenius, but actually Gesenius covers a lot of ground, really important ground, about the characters the alphabet, the Hebrew alphabet, and how it developed over the years. And I'm going to get to Hebrew paradigms in a minute, but I want to show you this. This is also bundled with BibleWorks, and it's got some stuff in it that isn't exactly right, that I just found out, so I got to figure out where I found this. I think it's in orthography. Yeah. Let's see. This is done by some guys who worked at the Vatican, or worked with the Vatican, because it's done in Rome. And it's old. I don't know how old. 2006. It's not old. Alright. But they make some mistakes, which Gesenius corrects. This comment here. The alphabet emerged in the 3rd century BC. That's not true. This alphabet here, which is called the square script, it actually emerged in the Middle Ages. And if you look at Gesenius, and you cannot find it in this version of Gesenius, because the Gesenius has a fold out in his hardback, right here in Gesenius. I don't think, oh yeah, okay, yeah, they do have, oh good, because you can't find this on the web. I tried to find it in order to help somebody understand that the nature of the Hebrew alphabets, but they did in this copy. This is a fold out. I have the hardback of Gesenius, and this is a fold out page that actually looks much better in this copy than it did in the original. Okay, you can tell that they're using an old copy too, that they photocopied it because of the sepia color. Okay, I put also a JPG. I did a scan of this, and I put a JPG file of the scan from my hardback of Gesenius in my Bible Hebrew alphabet video. So the video description has a link which has a picture of this page, so you can just download it. You see, this is a table of the alphabets. This goes back to 840 BC. This is the 9th to 5th century BC. This is 700 BC. This is the Maccabees, 2nd century BC, Hasmonean, the revolt. Here are the Samaritans, okay, Old Aramaic. See the difference? This is all chicken scratch script. There's nothing square character about it. Okay? The characters that are used in our Hebrew Bibles started to be used here, 916 AD, 1470 AD, 1347 AD. And that's German Jews with these little tag-ins, these little extra marks to make it look decorative, okay, that they put on it. But you see, these are the square characters that are in our Bibles, okay, principally most like these two. Alright, and then you can use your scroll bar down here to see the rest of them. These are the most familiar to us, but they're developments of the Middle Ages. Alright? Unfortunately, Maroka, and I don't know why he didn't correct this, he should have known better, because Gesenius had been out already since 1900, because it went through many editions. Unfortunately, our boy here, Maroka, is saying that this was a development from the 3rd century BC. That's not true. Okay? So you have to read this guy, Maroka, with a grain of salt. Okay, he's saying that the square script is used. Oh no, he's replaced the script using. Okay, great. Those chicken scratches are used in the Siloam inscription. Alright? So the Siloam inscription is a lot older. This did not come about in the 3rd century BC, as you just saw from the chart, and could look at again on, in your copy of Gesenius and BibleWorks. Okay, so when I read somebody saying something right off the bat that I know is wrong and can prove is wrong, from archaeology even, then I know, okay, well, whatever this guy says, I've got to check it with some second source, because what he's going to say is not necessarily going to be true. If he misses something so basic as the origin of the alphabet, see, there's certain things, when people say certain things to you, it betrays an ignorance or an arrogance so vast that you know that you have to just like cut whatever they say is not going to be reliable. Okay, it might be reliable in parts, you don't throw the whole person out, but they've got a major problem in their understanding if they don't understand certain basics. Well, for example, the Catholics can't count to 3, then every single one of their doctrines is suspect. You have to check everything against the Bible, because if they can't count to 3, honey, something's so wrong with their thinking that whatever else they claim of the Bible has got to be suspect, and you better check it against the Bible immediately. Alright, the same thing is true for this guy's grammar. I'm sure that there's a lot of stuff in there that is of value, but when he can't get the alphabet right, then you gotta be real careful what you read and accept from him. Alright? So that's Maroka. Alright, Joan and Maroka. And then, you know, dedication and copyright. And, you know, scholars are human beings. They make mistakes. And that's fine. Just make sure that you check against more than one source. It's always going through morphology and syntax, and then his version of the paradigms are right here. And they're a lot harder to read, of course. So now we're going to go to the other thing, which is the paradigm. So you've got more than one Hebrew grammar. Pick Gesenius, and if somebody differs with Gesenius, then chances are Gesenius is right. But check it anyway, because you know Gesenius isn't perfect either. Okay, now we're just gotten into paradigms. This is that junk that you have to, if you're learning a foreign language in school. In formal school, they make you learn a bunch of tables that you learn to recite, and you never actually get anything out of the meaning of them. Okay? You have to go through this, but I suggest that you go through it in connection with the Bible verse you're studying, rather than just learn a lot of blind tables. But that's a personal preference. That's up to you. This is the typical katal table. Katal means to kill. Alright? So you first see it in the Cal Perfect, which is a completed tense. Okay, then you see it in the nifal, which is passive. Okay, passive, or it happens to you. Okay, PL is intensive, meaning that all the action is much more intense, souped up. Puel is the passive version of the PL. Okay, then you got the hifil, which is causative, and then you got the hofal, which is causative passive. Then you got the hithpael, which is reflexive, and then you got the cal imperfect, which is, see, you basically got in Hebrew 2 tenses. You got perfect and imperfect. The perfect means action completed, or a state completed, or a state that is complete. It's not like our English tenses, which is, you know, progressive and past and all that. It's kind of hard to explain this. When you're looking at something, it's called aspect. When you're looking at something, are you looking at something that's still ongoing, or are you looking at something that's not yet finished? Or are you looking at something that's just beginning? Or are you looking at something that's completed but it had a beginning, or completed but it didn't have a beginning? So Hebrew just has perfect and imperfect. Okay? So here's the cal imperfect, meaning a state that either didn't have a beginning or it's still going on. Now watch this. See, there's a little voice thing right here on the right. You click on it. Watch what happens.
Yiktol, tiktol, tiktol, tiktali, ektol, yiktalu, tiktolna, tiktalu, tiktolna, niktol.
Okay, that's somebody who just pronounced the paradigm for the cal imperfect of kata. All right, so you can click on these little megaphones and hear it pronounced and then practice it. He's got a heavy accent, but at least it'll give you the sense of the word. Okay, see, like here's the PL.
Yukatil, tukatil, tukatil, tukatali, akatil, yukatalu, tukatilna, tukatalu, tukatilna, nukatil.
See? So then you can learn your conjugations that way. Well, yeah, you can learn, we call them conjugations. Learn your conjugations that way. See, so they got it all for the imperfect and the perfect. So you got basic, and then of course you got the imperative. Do they have the adjussive? And there's the infinite absolute. Again, you can pronounce it. Do they have adjussive? And the participles. So you can practice this. Yeah, here's adjussive. I like the adjussive. Okay. Coertative is similar to the adjussive. Okay, adjussive and coertative are like to urge you to do something. Something that creates a sense of urging. That you, oh, I ought to do this. Or, oh, I ought to not do this. Okay? So anyway, that is Hebrew paradigm. So that goes with, see, that was your vocabulary flashcard module. But this, the paradigms fit with it, because then that's for the verbs, you know, the conjugation of the verbs. That's kind of cool. I really like that, especially with the audio that goes with it. Okay, I'm afraid this thing's going to crash, so I'm going to cut this off and we'll resume at Walkie and O'Connor next. Okay. Okay, now we're on Walkie and O'Connor Hebrew syntax. I forget if I had to buy this or if it was bundled with BibleWorks. Okay, as you'll notice, we're going through more than one. See, you got in the Hebrew grammars, you got Futado, which I haven't shown you. You got Gesenius, and you got Maroka, and now there's Walkie and O'Connor. Okay, each one of these guys covers the same material, but they talk about it in different ways. Gesenius is actually considered to be the classic on the subject. This guy, and this guy are all latecomers. Okay, so if you're only going to pick one, pick Gesenius. But the other guys, you know, they're later scholars, and Gesenius wasn't perfect, and there are certain things Gesenius didn't cover. So when you look at these other guys, you're going to want to say, okay, well, what do they have to bring to the table? That's why I got them. I haven't looked at them in great detail yet, but one of the things that's always useful to look at is the preface to see why they think their book is important to write. So you might want to look at that. I like to look at their own philosophy about the study itself. Okay? And again, because I'm trying to evaluate whether I want to spend time reading their book. And then I also look at how they structure their teaching. Okay? Like this is talking about gender. Okay? And it looks like this guy is shooting for making things succinct and simple. So I'm going to want to read him. Okay? What I don't like about this and many other these grammars is that they pad their wording with what they consider to be respectable scholarly vocabulary, which actually obfuscates what they're trying to say. Obfuscate. See? Who knows? Do you know what obfuscate means? I learned it when I was a kid. I learned a lot of words when I was a kid. It means to cover up. So obfuscate is a fancy word for cover up. But if you didn't know what obfuscate meant, you'd have to turn off the video and go look up obfuscate, because I didn't say cover up when I could have just said cover up. You get my point? So they use a lot of obfuscating terminology in this book. Futado not so much. Futado's a little clearer. Okay? When you see that kind of vocabulary, your head is going to spin. Because it's not like you can't know what the word means. It's that it slows you down in learning. because they're using respectable, scholarly vocabulary. Now, it's one thing if you're in the middle of a conversation and the word just hits you. Alright? But it's another thing when you're writing a book that's supposed to be for an audience that doesn't know the subject as well as you do. Then you should try to write with the words that they will know, not the words that you know. So that's why it's important to read this kind of stuff, even though they use vocabulary that is obfuscating, so that you can learn the vocabulary yourself. So it's more important to read these kinds of books to learn the vocabulary that they use rather than to learn Hebrew. Okay? Now we come to wine green. Okay. Wine green is giving you a practical guide to classical Hebrew. He calls it classical. Okay? He is really doing that. Okay? See, he says you can't teach that the whole thing. He's going to just select things that are practical. Alright? To teach you the stuff so that you can get a sense of it. He's like the opposite of Walk-in O'Connor. Right? And I had to buy a wine green. It's worth buying. Okay? Because he likes to keep it simple. See, look. He's keeping it simple. The problem is, and he kind of has to do this, he's giving you the Hebrew names for things. A methig. Well, what's a methig? Okay? What's a sagal? Well, see? First of all, it tells you what methig means, or what the word means there. And it indicates that the reader must pause. So you are, you're getting a lot of extra vocabulary with him too. But these are the terms that they actually use in scholarship, first of all. Second of all, this helps you communicate with people who speak Hebrew. Alright? But he's giving you the names. See, look at how simple that is. Reader must pause. Alright? Methig is a short vertical stroke placed at the left of a vowel. Its effect is to make the reader pause after it. I don't do this right, okay? I just ignore these things. But you see? See how simple it is to read this guide? So that's why I would recommend buying wine green. Because he goes through it in some kind of a logical order, and he's giving you the Hebrew titles for things. But you'll have to know those titles anyway. And so you get all these little exercises. This is a really cool book. So I would get him, and I would get a hardback of Gesenius as well. So that's it for the Hebrew. Oh, I didn't show you Futado. I should show you Futado. There's Futado. That looks like my cover of my hardback. Okay. Here's his introduction. And he's talked somewhat more simply, kind of like Wine Green does. Alphabet. Okay, and see, he's thinking of the reader. He's giving you an outline that's thinking of the reader. Alright? So this is a good guy to get to. Okay, but you got him already bundled with BibleWorks. You have to buy it. There's sentences with verbs. See how he's organized it? So this is good for reading. Now the problem with these files is the same as a problem with a book. Searching in them is a pistol. Okay, the way to get... Uh-oh, my computer's dying. I'm going to come back in the next increment and tell you some helpful hints.